All right. Hey, friends. I see I've got some friends over on YouTube joining in. Welcome. I've got my friend Jason over on Facebook who's already joined in. Thank you for joining me today, Jason. Hope you're doing well today. And we are live. I was having some technical difficulties today. My CPU is, and it even now is just going nuts. All of a sudden, it is just going nuts. So hopefully my broadcast today will go through as planned. I'm going to have to call Telestream and find out what's going on. So today is, let's see here. I'm going to put this chat window so I can see it. So let me get the podcast started. Today I have my friend Brad Friedman of, today. Wow, I'm just totally thrown off my game today due to the technical difficulties. I have Brad Friedman here, the Friedman Group, Brad's Live, author, digital creator, social media pro. And I'm going to do a formal introduction for him in just a moment. I want to get the podcast started. So if you're with me on live video, Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook, welcome. Thank you for joining me. And let me get the podcast going here, folks. Welcome, Entrepreneur Live video friends. Today is my good friend, Brad Friedman of the Friedman Group. He's out of Denver, Colorado. You might know him as Brad's Live. He has a podcast called The Digital Slice, which I have been a guest on once before. And he's just fantastic. We're going to talk about live video and social media, digital marketing. We're going to talk about his books, one that just came out along with another one that I received a copy of probably about 6 months ago. So let me play some music and bring him in.
You are listening to Entrepreneur Live Video with Todd.LIVE, broadcasting from sunny Southern California. This is the place where the most talented online live video personalities and marketers share what works for them as live video becomes the most effective megaphone to the world man has ever known. Without further ado, here is your host, Todd.LIVE.
Yeah, folks, on the podcast, this is a recording of a live video stream that I am doing, that I regularly do for this show, for my interviews. It's a live video that goes to Periscope, YouTube, and Facebook. And actually, that's not the order in which my preference is for you to join me. If you want to join in on these, my preference is YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. In fact, I don't even pay attention to the comments on Periscope. Most of the time, it's just trolling. I do pay attention to the comments on Facebook and YouTube. So if you'd like to join me and Brad at either one of those locations today, you're welcome to, and feel free to leave a comment, ask a question, whatever. So today, and he's on screen now, my friend Brad Friedman. He is the author of this book, Brad Friedman on Digital Marketing. It's a great book. He's also got another book coming out. Let me see. It's a big, long name. I had to write it down. The Small Business Owner's Guide to Inbound Video Marketing. And he said it was quite the project. So we're going to talk about both books today, about his background in social media and live video and what's going on. So, hey, Brad, how you doing today?
I am doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you making it through the live video struggles that I've had today. Folks, I tried to start about a half hour ago, and my system is just not wanting to cooperate with me today. So thanks, Brad, for hanging out and being patient with it.
No worries.
So tell me, you've got a new book. Let's just tackle this new book right away, because I think that's really exciting. Tell us a little bit about the Small Business Owner's Guide to Inbound Marketing.
So, wow, it was about a year in the making. Mostly my fault, just because it was so hard for me to really focus as much as I needed to write the thing. But I think it came out pretty good. The goal is really focused on small business owners and getting them up and running, understanding what it means to be a digital marketer in the digital world that we live in. Basically, we start with the website and talk about how important the website is. I teach and consult on the website being sort of the hub of all of your activity, and the website pushing people out to your digital properties, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the like, and all of your social media sites pushing people back to your website. And so we talk about the website, we talk about social media marketing, talk about online advertising. Of course, we talk about video, live video, and really kind of a step-by-step guide to getting up and running and taking advantage of inbound marketing, meaning giving away content to, in essence, build your email list, and then targeting marketing to people who I then consider to be warm leads because they've already liked what you're giving them enough to give up their name and email address. So I've never been comfortable cold calling, and I'm not the greatest networker in the world, and inbound marketing is such a great fit for me personally. I wanted to share some of those concepts with small business owners.
So, this interests me quite a bit because I'm trying to jumpstart my email marketing, which it's really not easy getting people to sign up, even with a good freebie. So, what do you recommend for people when they're getting started with email marketing? I mean, you have no emails at all, and you want to get started, and you want to get people to be willing to sign up. What are you telling people?
Well, the first thing really is the content. And, a lot of people that I talk to in our first discussion, it's, well, I don't want to give away the farm. I don't want to give away all of my big secrets and all the great information I have. That's what I want them to come to me for. That's why I want them to buy my product or whatever. And it's not really a matter of giving away something that's patented or trademarked or something like that, as much as it is really giving something that's of value, something that's really quality, so that somebody wants to give up a name and an email address. And I think the other thing that I talk about is kind of creating the form that they have to fill out to line up with the quality of the content. So, right out of the gate, your first piece of content might just ask for a first name, email address, because that's really all that you need to have in your email list. But then, something, maybe it's their second time back, or it's something a little bigger. You might want first name, last name, or company name, or, add additional information to the form. But very simple form, first name, email address, and quality content is where I want people to start.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. But even still, I mean, like, where do you start getting these leads in? I mean, are you doing things on Twitter and sending them to your landing page, or, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook? Is that what you're doing, or is it something a little more targeted?
Yeah. So two things though. One is, so I partner with HubSpot. I do a lot of work with HubSpot, and I'm a HubSpot partner. And one of the things that they teach is that you've got to have probably more than 10 to 15 landing pages going before you're going to, really be successful. And it's different content on every landing page. And that enables you to really find out what works, because what you and I might think is quality content, we got to find out if our target audience feels that it's also quality content. Because I think everything that I put out there is just brilliant. I mean, it's the best ever, and people should be knocking down the door to download it. Right. And that's not the case.
Right.
It's not the case. So that's number one. And then number two is, I'm promoting it. I write blog posts, and at the bottom of the blog post is a pitch. It's a button to click for. Right now, it's my 5-step social media marketing checklist that's at the bottom of a blog post. I'm publicizing it on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, and I will. That's actually brand new, so I'll eventually do some Facebook ads. The trick with the Facebook ads is you have to come up with a different image, because the image now just says, it's got too many words on it. And so then you get that message from Facebook that we're going to restrict the reach because you got too many words in it. So I have to create a whole different image, and it's not the necessarily the best brand and all of those things. So that usually comes last. And Google in the past has had a few issues with some of the landing pages where they note that all you're really doing is trying to get a name and an email address, and they refuse the AdWords. So most of my publicity for those is social, blog posts, LinkedIn articles, those kinds of things.
So, I mean, have you grown your list to be big? I almost don't want to ask, because if it's not big, then it's kind of like, well, but I mean, do you feel like you're growing a good list for what you're doing?
So I feel like my list is not big. I mean, it's not huge. It's not like, I was on the phone with somebody the other day who has 40,000 people on his list. So no, I'm not anywhere near that, but my list is quality.
Right.
So I'm really trying this year. This is my year of growing my email list. It was one of my 7 goals for 2018 was to grow my email list. But I'm trying to do it strategically with people who actually open the emails that I send and click on the links and those kinds of things. So no, it's not huge, but every time I publish a new landing page, it grows.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's easy to document. The data is easy to get. So yeah, it's been it's a good way to grow a list.
So that's note to self is landing pages. I might have 1 or 2. I don't have 15, so I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. And I have an email sign up on my Facebook page too. They still let you do that. It's a separate little tab that you can create from your email marketing provider that sets it up. And I get a few people just off of Facebook that sign up for my newsletter or whatever.
And how often do you broadcast?
I try to get an email out. Well, I've been trying to get something out every week.
Right.
And usually on Mondays, it's like a quick little 2-sentence LinkedIn tip or something like that. A lot of my clients are the ones that do best on LinkedIn, professional services providers and the like. And then I do a monthly, here's what's happening at the Friedman Group newsletter. I've been pretty good about that. And then in between, when I have a podcast that comes out, there's a little email that goes out telling people there's a new podcast, and I let people sign up to get email notifications when a blog post is published. And so it's usually weekly. There's something out every week.
Yeah, I found an article recently that really broke down and studied, and you've probably seen the article or something similar, where it broke down and studied like when's the best time of day to publish or to broadcast an email to your list. What's the best time of day, what's the best day of the week, and that sort of a thing. And so I know you're on my email list. My email list is not even 100. It's not even 100 emails. But it's quality, right? It is quality.
Right, that's what's important.
But and I get good open rates, but I'm trying all these different times right now. So I'm in the middle of this trial and error period where I'm like looking at the stats, and I think an email came out this morning at 6 a.m. Some days it's 8 a.m. Some days it's 8 in the evening. Some days it's 2, whatever. And I'm just trying all these different ones. And it's tough. Writing the emails, it can be kind of a hassle, but I've found that I can sit down and do several at one time and just schedule them out. And right now I think I'm scheduled out through May 1st. I don't know if you do anything like that, but
yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I do.
It's helped.
And I do the different times too. And that's what when I have a new client, that's what I do with them too, because every industry is different. Every, target audience is different. I have some, and you have to think that, you're in Pacific time, and maybe somebody on the East Coast is reading your email. So I send out emails sometimes at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that would be 6 o'clock on the East Coast. And I sometimes with the new client, I'll schedule them, every hour. I'll start at 6, and then the next one will be at 7, and the next one will be at 8. And then we look at the data and make data-driven decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah, email marketing's tricky. It's a long game, but it's definitely worthwhile. Let's even back up a little bit for people who, because I kind of started our conversation like, I know you, but a lot of the people on the podcast may not. Brad, one, you're like me, you're a recovering attorney. We both got out of that grind.
Right.
So, fist bump on that. What got you into it? What steered you in the direction of live video and social media when you got out of law?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I usually blame my kids on that when people ask, how did you get into this? My kids now are grown, but at one time, of course, they weren't. And when they were young was really toward the beginning of the excitement around social media. So we first started with a MySpace page, was their first entree into the world of social media. And my deal with them was always, I want you active on all the technology. I want you to know how to use a computer. I want you to push all the buttons. The worst thing that can happen is that we have to reboot. I want you playing with all the software. I'm happy for you to be on social media, but everywhere you go on social media, I'm going too. So I just want you to every once in a while just think that there's a chance that your dad might see that picture of you doing whatever it is you're doing that you might not want me to see. So the result of that was that fairly quickly I had to learn how to be on MySpace and then Facebook. And, my daughter moved to San Francisco and I knew where she was every minute of the day because of Foursquare. And she was checking in, I'm going to work, here's where I am having coffee. And it wasn't like she was talking to me, but every time she checked in, I would be able to, and it gave me a big sense of some comfort with her being so far away. So I really learned all the social media platforms that my kids were using. And when I stopped practicing law, I went and ran a foundation for about 8 years. And then when I was done with that, I said, now's the time for me to do something that I really want to do and will enjoy. And, you sit down and you make those lists of love to do, like to do, hate to do. And I've always loved technology and I really enjoyed, what I was doing in social media with my kids. And I also looked at the time and I said, I've been practicing. I practiced law for 16 years. And then I worked with lawyers and accountants and financial planners while I was running this foundation. And none of those people were taking advantage of the power of the internet because of regulations, whether it was the Lawyers Code of Professional Responsibility, or it was FINRA or the SEC for financial services providers or whatever. And I said, there is a need for me to take the skills that I've learned and help those people take advantage of the power of the internet if they're willing to be helped. And that was really the impetus for starting the Friedman Group, was to work with people who had challenges using the internet because of regulations.
Yeah. And have you found that people are, I know that it's kind of like a social media agency in a sense, but it's very more personalized than that. I hate to use the word agency because I know that you're not quite doing it that way, but have you found that the people that you're working with are opening up and doing it? And I'm also curious as to what struggles you have as somebody who works with these people.
So, this is my 8th year in business. I just am about to have my 8-year anniversary.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And the first few years, first 3 years, probably, maybe even 4, I just kept hearing, well, you're way ahead of the time. We get it. We don't get it. We get all our business from word of mouth marketing. And as hard as I would try to explain that social media is the new word of mouth marketing, I struggled, and I still struggle with some people. What I find is, so I go into a law firm, and I got into the law firm because of somebody that I knew. So already they're old. They passed me off to the marketing director, who's thrilled to have somebody come in and offer to help because she or he is overwhelmed,
right,
and loves the idea. So she sets up meetings with associates, because the partners don't have time for me. And the associates love the idea because they have to bill 2,000 hours a year or more and bring in business. And they want something that's going to work for them 24/7, 365 behind the scenes. Then it goes back up to the old people who are the executive team, and they're the ones that have to write the check. And then I get shot down because we've done it by word of mouth marketing all these years.
right.
Why do we need to change now? So I've seen my pitch change over the years from you need to be doing this to you need to be providing this as a benefit for your younger associates. And it's still a struggle. I mean, as technologically savvy as everybody thinks Denver and Boulder and, Colorado is, being here has also, I think, added to the challenge. Right now, I think I have 2 clients that are local, and my other clients are on a coast.
Yeah.
They're in New York. So some of it is, it's like fashion. It takes a little while for fashion and theater and, culture to get to Denver. And it's taken still a little while for everybody to be on board. I'm hearing a lot more now. I know I should be doing that, which I didn't hear a lot in the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a real challenge to get people involved. I mean, I was talking to a guy recently, and he was just, it was just like mind blown. Like, oh, I've got to think about doing all that too. And they're starting a business or whatever, and it's like, wow, I didn't even think about that. And it's like, well, how are you going to reach the people? Well, I don't know. And it seems a lot of entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs, it seems like they think about what they have to offer, and it's going to be brilliant. And like you said, people are going to come, you were talking about email marketing, but people are going to knock the door down to get whatever it is. And that's just, no matter what you're offering, that's not going to be the case, Right. And as you've got to find these people, and you've got to build, Aaron Roth and I today, we're talking about building community, and that's what you and I do with social media, is trying to build a community. And people don't really look at it that way. First of all, it's just tricky to get them to consider it. And then when they consider it, they're thinking, okay, what's my return on my time? What's
Right.
my ROI? How am I going to see, if I spend 20 minutes on doing a live video, how much money am I going to make? And it's like, you got to get people through so many hoops before they're kind of seeing the light.
Absolutely. I mean, then you have the people who buy in and then tell you, well, I don't have anything to say, or I don't have any content. And you have to go, that step and explain to them that they're the expert in what they do. And they need to just assume that nobody else knows what they know about what they do. And so you got a ton of content. You just have to think through it and not think, oh, well, I don't need to talk about that. Everybody knows that. And then I have the entrepreneurs who say to me, when I go in and have an initial meeting with somebody, one of the questions I always ask is, give me the names of 3 of your competitors. I would say 8 out of 10 times, the response is, I don't have any competitors. Nobody does what I do as well as I do it. And, and I've already done a little research, and I have 2 or 3 names. I say, well, what about this company? I go, well, they would like to be a competitor. And I'm like, okay, so I could use them in a competitive analysis, right?
Right.
Absolutely. And then you see they've got 10,000 people on their Facebook page to year 5. And, so I always do a competitive analysis, especially for the entrepreneur who tells me that they don't have any competition because nobody does it as like they do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's I think times are going to change. It's just going to take a while. I mean, and you even say your pitch has changed. I mean, we have to find ways to make it happen. We have to find ways to get through to people, right. And they have to find ways to understand.
Absolutely. They got to open up a little. And, in some cases I've met with people and I walk out of there and, I do another presentation or a proposal or whatever. And then I make a note in my database, wait for the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's just the way it is going to be sometimes.
I think you were with us some this morning when I was talking to Aaron Roth on the Grammar School podcast. But I mean, he could not do Archon mounts all of a sudden and just teach businesses how to do social and live video. And I mean, because he's doing it and he's showing us the power that this has. And I think that with potential clients in the future for me, I'm going to point at a lot of what Aaron's doing and say, hey, watch this, think about you doing this with your business and I can help you do it because Aaron doesn't teach it, but I could, I can show you, this is, I mean, I can't think of anybody better out there. Do you have anybody out there that you look to, that if you were going to point to and say, this is a business that's nailing it, that you respect and learn from?
So I watch a lot of what Aaron does, and I like the people that Aaron highlights, the bakers, the cooking, people and all of that. I think that there's a lot of companies now that are really getting into the live video area even more. So I like what Adobe does. I've been liking HubSpot is really getting into live video a lot more this year than in past years. So I like watching people like that. I use BeLive TV for my live shows, and there's a whole group of people, Owen Video on there, Joel Com, what he does. So I see people through BeLive TV that I like a lot that are doing some really great things.
Yeah, BeLive's awesome. I should do something on BeLive because the community there is so awesome. Brad, for the people who don't know what BeLive is, since you're in it and involved in it, you mind explaining a little bit about what BeLive does and how you use it?
Sure. So basically it's a tool that lets you broadcast live on your Facebook page. And it's evolved since I even started using it to where you can bring guests on like you, Todd, have today. You can share your screen. I think now you can have 3 guests, so there can be 4 of you on BeLive now. And like I said, you can share a screen and you can do all kinds of things with graphics and lower thirds, and they come out with frames around holidays and the like, so that but basically it's a tool that lets you sit at your desk with a microphone and a camera, or not. I mean, you obviously need the camera and some kind of audio, whether you're just talking into your laptop or not, and go live on your Facebook page or your personal profile or in groups and the like. And it's the thing that I like about it is that it is brainless, which is good for me. It is easy. I spent a long time and took some classes on using OBS, and I can use it. But this is so easy. It's clicking a button. You can use your own brand. You can, set it up so everything comes out in your colors. The other thing with BeLive that's important to point out is that it helps with engagement. So when you're looking at your screen, you can see over on the right comments that people are making to your broadcast. And you can click a button and put those comments on the screen, and you can respond to them and interact with them right from one screen on, one look on your monitor. And so it helps with engagement. It's easy to use. I love it.
Hey, have you put any clients on there?
Maybe, yeah, one. I have one that's giving it a try.
I'll tell you, for me, I used Be Live one time a long time ago. Like when it was brand new and it was free and it was just getting started.
Right.
And I liked it and everything. My big hang up this whole time has just been, it only goes to Facebook. If the folks at Be Live, if they happen to listen to this, which I'm sure they're not, but if you make it to where it goes to YouTube and Periscope, or I can go to wherever I choose and I can put in all my APIs, I probably will become Be Live very quickly, because it is a lot of work to do what I do. It's tricky. Right. But on the other hand, I do like the art of knowing how to do this. Right. And it's an art that I fail at a lot right now. I've dealt with during this broadcast a little issue that's just driving me nuts, and I've just decided to let it go. I do like doing my own broadcasting, but on the other hand, it's nice when you can just click a couple buttons and you've got all these amazing features. And Be Live has more than just the platform. Like you said, it's a community. Joel Comm and Owen Video and yourself and Rachel Moore. And I mean, there's a lot of people that use Be Live, and it's become a thing. I mean, it's become a real thing, kind of like Blab. Were you on Blab?
Yeah. It's like the old Blab. And a lot of people who left Blab and went to Be Live kind of helped Be Live become what it is, at least today, as far as being able to have 4 people, on at once, and sort of like the old Blab days. And I certainly have no inside information, but I would guess that they are working on being able to go out to somewhere, whether it's Periscope or YouTube or what, but I would guess that's in the future.
So I'm going to pivot here. And since you've written a book, several books, and you do coaching and mentoring and that sort of a thing, what's your favorite platform for social media marketing? I mean, we've got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. As far as the platforms go, we've got the live stuff with Snapchat, Instagram stories. And I mean, I don't need to name them all, but if you were to pick a place where you were going to do the bulk of your work, what platform do you like right now?
That's a great question. Right this minute, I am more and more excited about Instagram. For me, for what I do personally. So, I'm not in the most photogenic of businesses as a consultant. And I always tell, my clients, they say, oh, I need to be on Instagram. And I'm like, okay, what do you have that we can photograph every day so that you have a consistent presence? Even law firms that say to me, oh, I need to be on Instagram. I had somebody call me a few weeks ago. I need to be on Instagram. I just read something that 80% of the people on Instagram are women, and we do a lot of divorce work. And I'm like, great. So after I take a picture of the 30 lawyers in your office, and we take a picture of your lobby and your conference room and your law library, what do we got? And he was like, well, nothing, because everything else is attorney-client privilege. I'm like, you're not going to be good on Instagram, or we could do little live videos. We could do Instagram stories where you're talking about things. There's some creative ways we could use Instagram, but a lot of my clients are more LinkedIn appropriate. So I've spent a lot of time learning LinkedIn. And many, many years ago, I helped 2 friends of mine write a book on LinkedIn. And so I, even from the beginning, I've been active on LinkedIn, but right now I'm really enjoying spending time on Instagram with Instagram stories. And I've been posting images more and doing a few Instagram live. And that's kind of what is exciting me personally these days. Do
you think that Instagram as a platform offers more to people than most of these platforms? I get that like a law firm might be better suited on LinkedIn. And I agree with you there. We're both with the legal background, and I agree. Right. I think Instagram is tricky with a law firm, although I will say this before we move on, that you could take pictures of books that are open with somebody's glasses on them and have, quotes or tips. Like, if you find yourself, dealing with this, then kind of a thing. The other thing is of course, Mitch Jackson has made it an art to be an attorney in the social media space. Of course,
absolutely.
That's the kind of law that he's focusing on. So it makes sense. It's different with a divorce attorney or a criminal lawyer. Actually, I think a criminal lawyer could do very well on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think insurance defense might be a little trickier, but
I mean, I think you could, but it's a very different strategy. So, you know, most of us are posting pictures of sunsets and it's spring. So, you know, here's the flowers that are coming up in my garden. And, you know, it's very different than opening a law book and putting your glasses on it and taking a legal looking picture and then crafting a post to go with it with a legal tip.
Right.
That's very different than here's the rainbow over, what did I just see? John Lee Dumas, who lives in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
You know, took a picture that I saw on Instagram. My palm tree is coming back from the hurricane. And then it said, and oh yeah, there's that rainbow thingy over it too. You know, so the law firm isn't doing that. And then having a post that says, oh, and by the way, if you get in a hit and run, you know, you want to call us for your next DUI or, you know, something like that. So you've got to be more creative.
Yeah, you're right. And I would even argue that, well, I even have to talk like a lawyer, right? I would even argue, you know, I was talking to a real estate agent recently and I told her, I said, you know, you can show off, if you're using Instagram, you can show off the home that you're selling, maybe some features in the stories or whatever. Maybe don't put that on your grid, but maybe use the grid for like, you know, the glamorous Southern California lifestyle, and you're an agent that lives it and knows it and knows the area, and you're showing off restaurants and you're showing off, you know, I don't know if a law firm, you know, I think I have never given thought to how I would help a law firm with their social media presence. And I'm kind of intrigued by the idea. I'm going to play with it in my head for a few hours before I drive myself nuts. But, you know, a lot of businesses don't always have to showcase their business. You know, if you're a local professional, you could be a tax guy, you could be whatever. You could just be posting, you turn it into a foodie channel, but by the way, I do taxes. And over time, people that like your channel and feel that they get to know you might hire you. Again, it's a long play. There's no easy way to determine your return on investment. But on the other hand, at least you're doing something and you're entertaining people and you're getting your name out there, where otherwise they don't know you. They'll never know you. Right.
Right. Absolutely right. Absolutely.
So look, we talked about your, the one book that just recently came out. How about this one? The Brad Friedman on digital marketing. You wrote this last year, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah. So that's a really fun book. That's a very easy read. It's called a Think Aha book, which is actually a very cool platform if you're not familiar with it. And basically what the book is it's 160, I think, kind of tweetable messages. So each page has at least one, sometimes two, what I would say are tweets. Has 148 character messages about digital marketing. And then what the Think Aha platform is when you can sign up, or you can go to the website Think Aha and you can find my book on there, and then you can see each of those messages on there, and underneath is the ability to then share those messages on Facebook and Twitter and on other social media. But the book itself basically breaks down into different chapters: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and then within each chapter, after a page or two of introduction, there are a number of messages that go with each topic, and some of them are me and some of them are other much smarter people than me, and it's just basically a book filled with little tidbits of what I hope are value bombs on digital marketing.
Yeah, I love the book. I didn't write in it because it's like a workbook. You can actually write in this, folks, and I think that, you know, I think that's clever because it sounds to me like a lot of the people that you work with are maybe old school, like writing in a book. Like I still use legal pads as much as I try to go all digital with my calendar. I still have legal pads full of things that I write, and I have my calendar online, but then each week I take a legal pad and I map out all, 5 or 6 days that I'm actually going to work, and I add and take away, and I find the legal pads much easier than always running to my computer. And I like the workbook style because for people like me, even though I would write on a legal pad so I don't ruin the book, but you can write right in the book if you want to. So it's kind of like a workbook sort of thing, and you can work your way through it. And I think it's brilliant.
Thanks. Yeah. I actually did that on this latest book too. The last page of every chapter has a bunch of lines where you could make some notes as you're going through, just so you have it all in one place.
So in kind of closing up today, I wanted to, kind of talk about, and maybe you've got a few tips that you can throw out to the crowd, whether they're doing live videos or podcasting or sending it to their email list or creating something for Instagram. But throughout our discussion today, there's been a theme, and I think it's been the strongest theme, that people don't necessarily know what to say or what to create. And so I'm wondering if you've got a few really powerful tips that people can use when they're thinking through the process of what can I say today? What could I take a picture of today? Just creating content on a daily basis. How do you get people to work through it who aren't accustomed to doing that?
Yeah, so most of the time, I like to start with asking people what kinds of questions people ask when they call. So whether you provide a service or a product or, whatever you do, if you're selling to the public, when you engage with somebody, whether it's at a chamber meeting or somebody calls you, what do they ask? And it's not, do you think that was a stupid question or not? You got to take when you're creating content, boy, nothing is a stupid question.
Right.
So I like to start with people by asking them, when somebody meets you and you tell them, I do XYZ, or I'm the inventor of this product, what's the first question that they ask? And that is your content, for the day. So, I had a question last week on why should I be doing advertising on Facebook? And, talk about it for 5 minutes. Or how does your product, recharge? Is it wireless or does it plug in? And talk about that. You might think it's the simplest thing in the world, but somebody didn't know the answer to that question.
Sure.
So I'll bet you that somebody else has that same question. So I always start with that. Then I like to go to, what do you want people to know about what you do? Which is sometimes different from, the questions that people ask. But what do you want them to know? Maybe this thing charges wirelessly, but it also charges wirelessly in 30 minutes.
Right.
Where you think, oh, I got to plug it in and it's going to charge in overnight, or, whatever. So what do you want people to know about what you do? So sometimes I want people to know that I am a recovering attorney. Sometimes in the right crowd that's not got the latest lawyer joke on the tip of their tongue, that brings some credibility. Most times not. Most times I don't tell people that until they find out. But sometimes, something like that, everybody wants to know once they find out, how do you transition from being a lawyer to digital marketing and, those kinds of things. So what questions are people asking you? What do you want people to know those are two great places to start when you're thinking about content. When you think, oh, I have nothing to say. Well, I guarantee you have something to say, even if you're just looking at those two, kind of simplistic places to start.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll tell you, the email marketing has had me stumped. I feel like I can come up with great things to talk about in just about every venue, but email marketing and sending emails out to my list, sometimes it's tricky. And I'll tell you a little trick that I did, and I didn't realize I was doing it when I did it. Or maybe I did realize it actually, but about 3 years ago, I subscribed to tons of lists of people. And, you name them in the digital space, and I'm probably subscribing to it, probably a couple hundred people. And I was able to make my Gmail automatically open them and sort them and put them into buckets. So that way, if a Joel email comes in from Joel Com, I don't even get notified anymore. It just goes into the bucket and shows as read. And so what I can do, I have 3 years of emails from all these awesome people who do emails. And I can go back into, I can say, well, what did Pat Flynn talk about this year? And I don't copy their emails, but it gives me ideas because these people have made it an art to use email as a marketing tool. And so they have clever ways of doing lists and, where do you put your links? And so I study what other people have done with the email marketing, and that's how I do it. But it's really helped me out because I normally can come up with stuff in an instant. The emails have been very tough.
Yeah, well, I bet you could create an email after every one of your live broadcasts.
I could.
And you go live so much that there's some tidbit of information in every broadcast that you could probably create an email out of.
Well, and that even sounds like the words you should be, or you should be doing this should have come before that, because I should. I know a lot. The problem is as often as I broadcast, it'd be too many emails. But yes, I could take tidbits, and I could even post them out 2 months from now and link back to the video and say, this is the video where we talked about that. That's a great idea right there.
Right. There you go.
I think I've thought of that before, but it seems like it'd be overwhelming with the amount of emails that go out. But
but the beauty of that is that then you get more, you're repurposing your broadcast too.
Yep, absolutely. So Brad, in closing, where can people find you and get to know you better?
So people can find me on Twitter at Brad Friedman, on Instagram at brad.friedman, and our website, friedmansocialmedia.com. Would love some traffic there. And if you want to buy either one of my books, they're on Amazon. And Barnes & Noble has the latest one too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it in stores?
I think the latest one, I'm waiting because it just came out in March. And I just sent a note off to the publisher to see how we were doing, and I won't know for another week or so. But yeah, it should be in some stores, and it should be overseas too.
Oh, that's fantastic, Brad. I really hope that happens. A lot of people, they don't know their book is out there, and then they're walking through the airport and they see it or something. And it's right. I hope that you get that moment. I really do.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so too.
Well, Brad, thanks again for being on the show. It's always a great pleasure to have you on. We've done a lot of broadcasts together, and it's always a great time.
Fun. Always fun.
I love hanging out with other lawyers or ex-lawyers. I don't mind bringing that out. I tell everybody I'm a recovering attorney.
Yeah. I use that line a lot. I used to stand up at chamber meetings and say, "Hi, I'm Brad, and I'm a recovering attorney."
There you go.
And they go, "Hi, Brad."
Yeah, and it always gets a good laugh. That's what I like about it. It breaks the ice with a laugh.
Right. When I do speaking engagements, I have people use that in the introduction.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous. We didn't have a lot of comments today. We had a little bit on YouTube, not much, and a little bit on Facebook. My friend Jason, he might be long gone now, but Jason liked that we have matching microphones. I mean, I have the black and you have the silver, but actually, I think only my hardware around it is black. We have the same color mic.
I think it's the same mic. It's just the shock.
Yeah, he said, look at those matching mics. Brad takes his audio seriously. Brad and I have gotten through some audio issues once before, and
absolutely,
we both. He sounds like it's just sounds like butter coming through the headset here on my end. So, well, listen, Brad, it was a great time. Thanks again, and we'll have you back on another time, I'm sure.
Awesome, thank you. It's always fun to talk with you.
Thank you, too. Hey, folks, on the podcast, thank you for listening, and we will be back to our regular programming tomorrow. Brad Friedman at the Friedman Group. Look him up. Check out his books on Amazon. Good stuff. And I will talk to you soon. Let's play some music, and have a great evening, folks.
Thanks so much for listening to Entrepreneur Live Video with Todd.LIVE. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit www.todd.live and on Facebook.com/Todd.LIVE page. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Entrepreneur Live Video with Todd.LIVE.